Welcome to this Masterclass Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the world of business decision-making. At its core, this is a high-stakes environment. I mean, every single choice a business makes carries some level of risk. So how on earth do they navigate this? Well, market research acts as our vital compass against that risk. It's exactly what helps businesses identify, anticipate, and really understand customer needs.
Okay, let's dive into this roadmap, which is perfectly aligned with your syllabus. We're going to cover the value of market research, research methods and data, statistical reliability, strategic market mapping, and finally, the influences on research choices. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. The value of market research. Here we're transitioning from broad concepts to the actual technical syllabus requirements. To really grasp the value of research, we first have to understand the enemy, and that is uncertainty. According to the formal AQA vocabulary, uncertainty is when a business simply cannot predict what's going to happen in the future because events are outside its control. This makes decision-making significantly harder because outcomes are unknown and they just can't be accurately measured. Market research is the primary tool businesses use to reduce this unknown and finally bring some much-needed clarity to their strategic planning. So, how exactly does it reduce all that uncertainty? Well, it provides the vital information needed to identify market opportunities and review the effectiveness of current marketing plans. Crucially, it prevents incredibly costly mistakes in research and development. Let's look at a prime example straight from the AQA mark scheme, Apple's Vision Pro. This product is proof that even massive tech giants don't always know exactly what consumers want right out of the gate. Having the right information enables a business to develop the correct marketing mix and prevents massive, sometimes catastrophic, financial losses in R&D. So market research isn't just about finding out what people like, it is absolutely about protecting the bottom line. Moving smoothly on to Section 2, Research Methods and Data. Let's look at the specific tools you have in your strategic toolkit. And this brilliantly illustrates the two main pathways we use for gathering information. On one side, we have primary market research. This is the process of actively gathering first-hand data, typically through things like surveys, interviews, or observations, and it's tailored to your highly specific research objectives. On the other side is secondary market research, which is all about leveraging what's already out there. This involves the analysis and interpretation of existing data, often collected by someone else for totally different purposes, to gain insights without ever directly interacting with your target audience. Basically, it's the difference between building a custom data set from scratch and intelligently mining an existing one. Now, once we've chosen our method, we've got to consider the type of data we actually want. Quantitative research is all about the numbers, right? It's the collection and analysis of numerical data. We're talking sales volumes, market size percentages, hard statistics. Qualitative research, on the other hand, dives deep into the why. It focuses on exploring non-numeric data, stuff like opinions, feelings, and the underlying motivations of consumers. Simply put, you need quantitative data to know what is happening and qualitative data to understand why it's happening. All right, it's time for your first active recall challenge to really cement these concepts. I want you to apply this knowledge to an AO2 application task. Your job is to compare the benefits of using qualitative data from focus groups versus quantitative data from surveys for a brand attempting to understand consumer emotional loyalty. So pause the video now and complete task 2. Welcome back. Let's head into Section 3, Statistical Reliability and Research. This is arguably the most technical part of this topic, preparing you for that complex AO3 analysis. Think about it. When a business conducts quantitative research, they're usually only sampling a small portion of their target market. Because they aren't asking literally everyone, there is a natural variance and a margin of error. And this brings us to the confidence interval. This is a statistical range within which the true results of the research are actually expected to lie for the entire population. So if a survey says 50% of people like a product, but it has a confidence interval of plus or minus 3%, well, the true figure actually lies somewhere between 47% and 53%. Closely related to the interval is the confidence level. This is the statistical measure that expresses the degree of certainty or reliability associated with a research finding. It's typically represented as a percentage, like a 95% confidence level. So the crucial point is, this percentage dictates exactly how much a business can actually trust its data. A 95% confidence level means that if you repeated that exact same survey 100 times, the results would fall within your confidence interval 95 times out of those 100. It is a highly precise measure of statistical reliability. So, how does this play out in a real business context? Let's look at the example of Finley's Farm Ltd. From our sources. By gathering information to forecast potential changes in market conditions, they can confidently estimate future sales. Using confidence intervals, Finley's Farm can forecast their future sales of ice cream. And this isn't just some abstract number, right? This statistical reliability directly impacts incredibly tangible business decisions. It affects cash flow forecasts, budgeting, and it allows the business to adapt its human resource and operations planning accordingly. If the data reliably shows declining demand, they can safely pause recruitment and reduce production before taking a hit. Let's test your ability to build analytical chains of reasoning with technical vocabulary. For this AO3 analysis task, analyze how a business might use a 95% confidence level to justify a significant investment in a new product line despite high initial costs. Go ahead, pause the video now, and complete task 1. Excellent work! Now we're shifting our focus over to visual strategic tools as we enter Section 4, Strategic Market Mapping. Let's keep the energy high for the final stretch. You can think of market mapping as the ultimate bird's-eye view of a market. The formal definition is the process of visually analyzing a market by plotting competitors, products, or brands against key variables. It's an absolutely crucial tool for identifying gaps, spotting golden opportunities, and understanding exactly where a business should position itself relative to the competition. Let's take a look at how this grid works in practice. A business chooses 2 key variables that really matter to consumers. Most commonly, that's price and quality. Plotting competitors on this grid reveals distinct clusters. You might find a heavy cluster in the high-price, high-quality quadrant, which obviously indicates premium positioning. Or maybe a cluster in low-price, low-quality, showing a budget or mass market focus. But the real superpower of the market map is gap analysis. By looking at where competitors are not, a business can easily identify unmet customer needs and totally unexploited market gaps, effectively allowing them to bypass those heavily saturated areas. All right, here is your final active recall prompt. I'm challenging you to reach that highest level of evaluative thinking. For this AO4, evaluation, evaluate the value of market mapping as a strategic tool for a firm entering a saturated mass market versus a firm operating in a small niche market. Get to it, pause the video now, and complete task 3. Great job. We have arrived at our final section, influences on research choices. Time to evaluate why businesses choose specific research paths over others. Let's move to and see how this builds a picture of the very real constraints businesses face. There are 4 critical factors that influence how market research is conducted. First up, risk. What's the probability and impact of a negative outcome? Obviously, high-risk decisions demand far more rigorous research. Second, cost. Conducting extensive primary research is incredibly expensive, and every business has financial limitations. Third is time. How fast is the data actually needed? Primary research takes a lot longer than secondary. And fourth, the need for reliability. Does the business require highly statistically sound data with high confidence levels? If so, that usually requires much larger, more expensive samples. These 4 constraints act together to limit a business's quest for absolute certainty. And this brings us to a really sophisticated concept for your exams, opportunity cost. Listen to this amazing insight directly from the AQA mark scheme. Apple operates in a very dynamic market. Market research takes time and therefore could slow down product launches, suggesting that market research would simply be a cost. That's huge. In incredibly fast-paced tech markets, taking the months needed to conduct extensive research might literally mean falling behind your competitors. The opportunity cost of the time you spent researching could actually be way too high. Which leaves us with a truly fascinating evaluative thought to close on. Companies like Apple are highly innovative, right? They often create products that anticipate needs consumers don't even know they have yet. So if customers don't know what they want until they actually see it, does excessive market research actually kill innovation? It's a fundamental limitation of the very tools you've just learned, and it's a fantastic question to ponder as you review your notes. Thank you so much for joining this explainer, and keep exploring these strategic dynamics.